All right, a little more packaging. From Brad from GREENBLUE.
Thank you,
You're up.
Chris.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here to talk with you all today. Excited to be here to talk a little bit more packaging. I just want to say before I get started, presentations we've seen up to this point really kind of set the stage well for what I'm going to be talking with you all about today. So, Steve, you alluded to a lot of the things that I'm going to be touching on, but thank you all for the great presentations. Before we get into it, a little bit about me. My name is Brad Kurzynowski. I am the Sustainable Packaging Coalition's manager for all things related to fiber and paper-based packaging. I joined the organization in March of this year, so still pretty new in the role, but it's been great working with our membership on all of their paper-based and other fiber-type projects. My background really isn't in package design. I come from more the waste management and recycling side of things. Worked a number of years for the consulting firm Resource Recycling Systems, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. Did a lot of work like in MRFs, figuring out how packaging can be sorted, and also consulted with a number of large brands on how they can build recoverability, recyclability, things like that into their packaging design process. So when I have been asked in the past what I do for work, oftentimes I will tell people I am just a glorified trash man. But it's nice being back working with the brands, a little bit less dirty with the SPC. So before we get started, quick pop quiz. Who here is familiar with the How to Recycle program? It's basically everybody. Who here is familiar with the Sustainable Packaging Coalition? Okay, quite a few. Who here is familiar with GREENBLUE? Okay, actually pretty good response there. I think the two big programs that we run, Sustainable Packaging Coalition, How to Recycle, many people are familiar with, but oftentimes people are less familiar with the parent organization, GREENBLUE. So GREENBLUE is a nonprofit organization with a mission to make a more sustainable material economy. And so we run a number of programs, the biggest two, How to Recycle and Sustainable Packaging Coalition. I work for the SPC. We work with our member organizations to advance sustainable packaging through education as well as collaboration. We have the How to Recycle program, which is a nationally harmonized labeling system that's meant to provide consistent and clear disposal instructions to consumers. And then we have a number of smaller programs that we run as well. The How to Recycle Material Standard is a new program from us the past couple of years. That is looking to develop clear, transparent guidance for third-party certification for really plastics recycling at this point. And then we recently launched a new consulting arm, Navigate, for our member organizations to come to us if they want to work on a specific project. Maybe they have a specific need that they need addressed. So number of programs, but they all fall under the GREENBLUE umbrella. We have a very diverse membership between the Sustainable Packaging Coalition and How to Recycle. We are currently sitting at just over 1,100 members. Many members are, many organizations are members of both the Sustainable Packaging Coalition and How to Recycle, but we have membership across the packaging value chain in a range of organization sizes, very, very small, all the way to the Walmarts and others of that size. To give you a sense of what our membership looks like from the supply chain side of things, bulk of our membership is on the material manufacturing, converting side of things. We also have a very large brand owner presence within our membership. I do want to point out, very small little number there, 4% is retailers. That is a very small but mighty portion of our membership. They interact with a lot of our other members. So small part, but do a lot to get involved with our work. So the sustainable pack, I guess let me start back up here a little bit. What I want to do today is talk with you about how the Sustainable Packaging Coalition engages with our membership and like I said, helps them move towards more sustainable packaging formats and options. So we do that in a number of ways. First of all, we run 3 different events throughout the year. We recently had our SPC Advanced Conference in Chicago. That is our member-only conference. We run another large conference in the US in spring called SPC Impact. That is open to everybody. And then we are also now running a conference in Europe called SPC Engage. That is in partnership with Packaging Europe, but is helping us extend our reach into the European market as well. We also do quite a bit of writing at the SPC, providing guidance documents and educational tools to our membership. All of these resources are available on our website. This year we've released a number of new resources, including one that's focused on chemical recycling, some fiber-related things, a mini-series on expanded producer responsibility. So whatever our membership is having problems with, if they have questions, we produce a lot of resources and white papers as well. But really most important to the Sustainable Packaging Coalition, really kind of our cornerstone for engagement with our membership is through our collaboratives. And so these are basically pre-competitive working groups where our members can come together and say, hey, I'm dealing with this problem, I have this challenge, I have this question. How can we pool our resources? How can we pool our networks? How can we pool, whatever else to help address those large-scale questions? So this is really, really how we most often engage with our membership. The way these run, they used to oftentimes be something of like listening sessions of sorts. So members would come together, maybe they'd meet once a month, quarterly basis, talk about the problems they're having, talk about industry trends, some solutions they're seeing. But in the past couple of years, we have transitioned the structure of these to be very deliverable focused. So if a member or a group of members comes to us and says, we have this problem, we want to have a very clear deliverable and a clear solution for them that we're working towards. So we now set those as part of these collaboratives. We also work with a select group of members for each of these called our steering committee. These are members that are more engaged with the collaborative, providing their expertise, providing their time to help us achieve those deliverables. So the topic areas that our collaboratives focus on, they really come from what our members are most interested in or what they're working on at any given time. So they can be focused on a specific material. I think up here we have our flexible packaging recovery. They can be focused on a specific format, maybe compostable packaging, or they can be focused on a specific topic. Big one for us that's running right now is going to be refreshed next year is our policy collaborative. That's delving into a lot of expanded producer responsibility type information. It's been a real hit for our membership over the past year. We launched 2 new collaboratives this year. The Paper Packaging Recyclability Collaborative, which I run, and then the Inclusion and Representation Collaborative, which is working on building equity in the packaging space through scholarships, storytelling, and some consumer research. We also have a very busy year planned for 2025. We're going to be refreshing 2 of these collaboratives. So the Policy Collaborative is going to be turning into a specifically EPR-focused collaborative. And then this Flexible Packaging Recovery Collaborative is going to transition to a store drop-off recovery collaborative, which again might be of interest to folks in this room. We'll also be launching a couple new collaboratives that are focused on some new topics for us. So number 1, seaweed packaging, very cool, kind of like niche little collaborative there. And then we are going to be launching a collaborative end of Q1 next year. It's going to be focused on life cycle assessment, the entire environmental trade-off discussion and the nuance that goes into that. Something that our membership has been very, very interested in. So a lot more to come, but been an active time for the SPC when it comes to collaboratives. So what I want to do is talk through a couple examples of how we are using the collaboratives and the collaborative action of our membership to achieve big things, ask big questions, get to big solutions, overcome big challenges. And I want to do that by highlighting a couple of our collaboratives. So I'm going to start with our Packaging Design Collaborative. This collaborative just wrapped up one of its work streams. That was working on the How to Recycle label. So I think it's a really good example of how a collaborative came together and focused on, again, a big need that was identified. And then I'm going to get into our new Paper Packaging Recyclability Collaborative, which launched in August, and talk about how we're working on some specific paper-related things in that collaborative. So starting with the Packaging Design Collaborative. This collaborative was kicked off in summer of last year. Specifically looking at how we could build, design features, integrate those into the How to Recycle label, into messaging. And so the goal with this was to create new guidance for our membership on how they can build design features into their packaging, and then specifically use the How to Recycle label as a case study for how we could take what we know and what we learned from designers, marketing folks, and apply that to a redesign of the How to Recycle label. So this here, sorry, let me get to the right slide here. So this is our old How to Recycle label, and like I said, a big point of that collaborative was figuring out how we could update this to implement some new design features and also evolve this with the changing packaging landscape. And so what this collaborative was looking at doing was taking what was working for the label currently, what features were working well, how it was successful, and make sure we could evolve it. And then, we also wanted to make sure the label continues to be effective as a How to Recycle program evolves, especially with its data background. And then most importantly, we wanted this label to continue to communicate information effectively to those consumers that are using this label. So this is the label prior to the collaborative's work. Click through a couple here. And this is the new label that we got to through the collaborative's work. So a new label that is clear, it's actionable, and it's compliant with new regulations that are coming online, and also implements some important design features that came from tapping into the marketing and design membership that participated as part of this collaborative. So along with this design refresh, this was also being done as part of a whole campaign for How to Recycle, the How to Recycle Forward campaign. So this has 4 key initiatives. First was the label refresh. This again was to update the label and make sure it's compliant and actionable for our brands that are using this. And then the other two was the key things were enhancing the How to Recycle's background data ecosystem for better label assessment, optimizing How to Recycle operations. So this is efficient scaling. So as more label requests come in, we can effectively get those out the door at speed. And then scaling behavior change through the How to Recycle program. This is of particular importance as more and more EPR programs are requiring that brands, package producers, inform consumers and provide consumer education. So the new label also includes 2 new features. So we have the How to Recycle Pro, or Plus, which is on the left. Again, this is the refreshed label, clear, actionable, compliant. And then we have our How to Recycle Pro label on the right there, I guess I should say here on the right, that includes a QR code that is linked with the Recycling Partnership's National Recycling Database. And so the point of this label is to provide, access information specifically where a consumer is located. So all in all, really what this collaborative did was identify a need, How to Recycle label need to be updated, and work with our member organizations, work with strategic partners to update the label and provide new features to the membership. There's the How to Recycle Pro and How to Recycle Plus. So moving on to what we are currently doing, again, we're going to look at the paper packaging recyclability collaborative here. A little bit of background for this collaborative. I'm sure many of you have seen these stories. I'm sure many of you are working on this, but we are currently in a period of rapid growth when it comes to fiber-based packaging. This is something that our members are very interested in working on, and we're seeing a lot of general growth in the space. Within our Packaging Innovation Trend Report that was launched earlier this year, we identified the paperization era, basically the growth of paper packaging as the #1 trend within the packaging space right now. And there's a couple of really kind of key reasons for this. So #1, there's a perception of environmental benefit associated with the use of paper packaging. This comes from the use of trees, renewable resource. They sequester carbon as they're growing. It can help eliminate plastic and avoid things like plastic leakage into the environment. And then there is, a consumer and legislators oftentimes positively respond to paper packaging. We're seeing policies like eco-modulation with an extended producer responsibility specifically favor paper packaging over things like plastic or other material formats. So a number of reasons, we're seeing from news sources, from our membership on why this is important. We're also seeing this come in through our own How to Recycle data. So Starting in 2022, we saw continued growth in label requests for paper packaging on for the How to Recycle label. You can see really market growth in 2024 in label requests for paper packaging. And this is label requests for the first half of the year. This is an estimate for the second half, but we oftentimes see a lot of label requests come in later in the year, so it's likely that this estimate may be even higher. This is all to say that there's a ton of interest from our membership. Both we're hearing that kind of anecdotally, and then we're seeing it in the data. So this was a really good time for the SPC to re-engage with our membership and work specifically on paper packaging. So I want to talk a little bit about how the Paper Packaging Recyclability Collaborative is doing this, focusing specifically on one of the work streams. So this collaborative kicked off in August. We are still in the early kind of planning and scoping phase for this collaborative, but similar to the Packaging Design Collaborative, we want to identify needs, challenges, problems our membership is having, and use this collaborative as a way to address those. So we have 2 planned work streams for this right now. The first is looking at paper recyclability testing, specifically once a paper package gets to a paper mill. Not going to go into that in a ton of detail here, but I do want to dig in a little bit more to the collaborative second work stream, which is looking at the impact of food residue on paper packaging. Basically how food residue can impact the recyclability through the recycling value chain. So the way we're doing this, we're tapping into really our collaborative members and their networks, using folks that run paper mills, using things that are using members that run MRFs to get a better sense of how these facilities see food contamination. Is it a problem for them? If so, to what extent? And really we're trying to build a really cohesive set of data that we can then provide to How to Recycle to help better inform some of their label assessments. We're also working with a number of key strategic partners as part of this. Folks like the American Forest and Paper Products Association, AFMPA, Food Service Packaging Institute, the Polycoated Paper Alliance, to both tap into their networks and then also, as they're collecting additional data, use that to fill some of the data gaps that this collaborative is looking to fill as well. So both amplifying their work to our members and building on it so that we're not duplicating efforts. And so really, taking this all together, it's a way that we are using our collaborative structure, our collaborative membership, and our strategic partners to fill really a key data gap that has come up both for our SPC members as well as the How to Recycle program. So really, from how we have been operating collaboratives, I think the key kind of takeaway from this is whenever possible, lean into opportunities that you have for collaboration. Through our work, we see the power of collaboration. We see that it can help, again, answer big questions, overcome large challenges. So I would say to you all, engage with your suppliers, engage with your co-manufacturers, engage with us, the Sustainable Packaging Coalition, GREENBLUE, other similar organizations to, pool resources and help address large questions. And Steve alluded to this earlier in his presentation. Now is really a time that we need to be moving faster as an industry, as we are seeing, really the negative effects of climate change through, severe weather events, as we are starting to see, increased plastic leakage into the environment and the health impacts around that. Now is the time when the industry really needs to come together to start to address some of these larger questions. So I will end with a plug for our upcoming event in Amsterdam, SPC Engage. Might be a little bit late to book a European trip, but we are going to be hosting this the first week of November. I would also encourage you all to look into our events for next year, SPC Impact, as well as SPC Advance. More additional information will be coming out on those sometime soon. So with that, thank you again for letting me talk through some of the work we're doing in our collaboratives, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Amy?
Thanks so much for everything you shared. One thing that comes to mind as we switch away from plastics and into fiber-based materials, the question comes to me, are we creating a separate problem with deforestation?
Sure.
Is there anything around that with the close connections I know that SPC does with?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we we're not specifically looking at things like that as part of the paper collaborative, but we have put out a resource a couple years ago that looks at responsible forestry practice that digs into that a little bit. The entire kind of discussion between, the deforestation versus, other impacts, we're, I think, potentially going to be digging into that a little bit further as part of that LCA collaborative that we're going to be running next year. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. I did a dumb post about this Mentos paper-based packaging.
Yeah.
I have to have in my bag. It has to have a recycle logo on it. I got a lot of people who are like, that thing can't be recycled because it's a 3D paper-based packaging and it won't be collected.
Yep.
And I thought, funny, I have it with me and you're here. So is that, are they telling me the truth, or is this, like, I don't know how the non-flattened paper goes through recycling.
Sure, yeah, so there's a lot in that question. I would say, talk with How to Recycle about it further. I think there are groups that are working on getting that recycled. A good example would be like the Polycoated Paper Alliance that's working with MRFs on returning paper packaging that's flowing as a container back to the paper line where it can then be sorted with paper. So, it's going to be really situational based off the MRF, based off the equipment that they have when it comes to sorting. I think from like a further down the line perspective with like repulping, it's probably fine. But yeah, I think it's going to be very situational. On
So that was a very technical answer. Can I dumb it down?
Sure,
and
please.
See if
and
see if I actually understood what you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
So regionally, there are different facilities that can do different things with recycling. So your one in California might not be the same one in Omaha, Nebraska.
Right.
That's that.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that sums it up well.
Not to get in MRFs.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Anybody else? So I like to put GREENBLUE and these guys on stage because, as I said, we are not. The Velocity Institute is not an expert at sustainability, but we know a lot of smart people, and we're happy to encourage you to be a part of their programs as well so that you have all the resources that you need. So GREENBLUE's a great example of that. Fair Trade's a great example. We'll see more as we go through the next 2 days. Thank you very much, man.
Perfect. Thank you.